Hi guys, Jackie M here from Masters of Malaysian Cuisine, and we are continuing with our series of, first of all, budget cooking, and second of all, on the topic of South Africa, or well, East meets West. I know it sounds really cliche, this whole East meets West there. South Africa is not really West anyway, but you get the idea. It's
East meets middle.
East meets middle,
Meets
except for the fact that we went to Ikea earlier this week, and while we were there, Paul was craving, Paul was craving Swedish meatballs, and then I remembered, hang on, I actually made some Asian meatballs, beef balls, the day before, and they were sitting in the fridge. Why don't we go home and turn it into Swedish meatballs? And he kind of actually liked the bouncy texture of these beef meatballs. So we're going to, in this particular live stream, recreate that meal that we had. But also the other thing that he made was mashed potato, and I'm very Malaysian to the point where I don't know how to make the most basic Western dishes. Whereas to him, mashed potato is just something he throws together, just like with you and me, we might throw together like a fried rice or something like that. But so he's going to make the mashed potatoes. Some people were asking as well, if he had a good mashed potato recipe, because apparently, and we're going to do it in the Thermomix, because apparently the cookie dough recipe that someone had tried for mashed potato wasn't that crash hot, right? But anyway, we're going to get started. And by the way, thanks for tuning in, and make sure you say hello. Let us know where you're watching from, and I'll let Paul take over the screen for a minute. For the record, for those of you who are wondering, the beef meatballs recipe that, the beef balls really, can be found at my website, jackiem.com.au. Just do a search for beef balls and you will be able to pull it up. And Paul is going to reference that same recipe for it today, okay? So, and I'll talk him through what's going on. But in the meantime, I'll let him take over the camera, and I'll kind of set up multi live streaming and stuff like that as well. So take it away, Paul.
Cool. So hi everyone. Man, I had something quirky I wanted to say off the bat, but I've already forgotten it. Today it's pretty simple. Hopefully it won't take us too long. That's what I wanted to say. Was the way that I was referencing you for every single step of making congee yesterday. That's basically, I assume, how you are with the mashed potatoes. It's just cultural perspective. So basically today we're keeping it really simple. It really depends on where you guys are watching from. Let me just check the cameras. Okay, where you guys are watching from, you will know or won't know of Ikea. And if you do live where there's an Ikea and you haven't eaten the Ikea food, you have greater willpower than the rest of us.
He's speaking for himself, by the way.
Excuse me, who pays for it?
Yeah, right. The one thing I will say about Ikea food, right? It seems really a low barrier to entry price-wise, because you think, they've got all this food and it's so cheap, right? Mm-hmm. But I've never come away thinking, that was a very satisfying meal. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say, I never feel satiated.
Yeah.
And I think that was the main reason why we decided to make it ourselves.
Yeah, and the other thing also, I don't eat pork, right? And Ikea in Australia, I know they've got the vegan ones, but who's going to go vegan?
But also, we've actually tried the vegan and they're not great. But
anyway,
I was going to say, every time we go there and we eat it, and you're like, I spent $13, $16, however much it is for the meatball meal, and it just doesn't feel like it grabs you, And after you finish the whole meal, you're like, should I go back for another? And then when you've spent, if you decide to buy two, you've got $26, which you could get a full-on meal elsewhere, and then you're already, it doesn't make it that valuable anymore. The one thing I will say about Ikea though is, if I ever wanted to do a mass production business in food, they're a good people to learn from, because they have a very good structure of how to get people in, get people out, get people to upsell them, have all the dishes along the wait line. So you're like, it's only $3 for a Dame cheesecake or whatever, and then boom, before you know it, you've spent $50. But let's not go into the philosophy of Ikea and get going with this dish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the mashed potatoes, because these need to cook for 20 minutes before we can mash them. Then once I've done that, then we will do the beef balls, because those also will need to cook for a little bit in the water and then get transferred to the deep fryer. Speaking of, let me turn the deep fryer on.
And by the way, guys, if you're here in Sydney, for the record, I am actually going to be in Concord this Sunday, and I'm actually serving some of my food for free. So if you've never actually tried, it's basically for a moon festival and in a community center over in Concord, where I used to have my restaurant, and I've been roped in to offer some, you know, free servings of my curry and rice at that event. So if you want to drop in, technically it's a closed event because you had to pre-register, but if you know me, just say you're looking for Jackie and come in and say hello, right, and get a taste of it, and you might be able to grab some of my curry paste as well, which I'll pull up later on. But anyway, back to Paul. You
cool.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
So basically the kicker is that mashed potatoes are actually really easy. Once, if you don't know how mashed potatoes work, like, don't fret too much, because conceptually it's not anything to really write home about, but have a look as we go. I'm just going to cut them up quick. Before I do, let me just pull up the beef balls recipe, because I want to see if I can do this in chop speed.
And by the way, while Paul is pulling that up, what we also bought, because we're still on the topic of budget eating, we bought some corn at Woolies last night. They were $1 each. And potatoes, obviously, if you get a good deal, grab some potatoes. I don't usually eat mashed potatoes, but the ones that Paul made was so nice. And this is the beef we bought. This is also from Woolies. It was $13 for 1 kilo, and we really only need half of that. So $6.50 plus these potatoes. And also, though, if you want to keep with the Swedish theme, you do need your lingonberry sauce, which we bought at Ikea.
Yeah,
right?
Since we're not going to make it from scratch, because I don't even think you can buy lingonberries in
Yeah,
Australia.
that's right. So, but look, for all intents and purposes, it's like strawberry
jam or raspberry
yeah.
jam or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the correct one.
Yeah, that's right. How to make beef balls. And the other stuff we're using is, by the way, the corn. It reminded me of the corn we had in Pancor Island.
Oh yeah.
Right, when we were in Pulau Pancor in Perak earlier this year, or a couple months ago, we came across a lot of like these kind of like little hawker stalls selling grilled corn, and we're going to recreate it. And so Malaysian-style grilled corn, and we're using Hilmi's barbecue seasoning. Okay, we're just testing this out, by the way, but the corn in Malaysia was really, really nice, so I'm kind of craving corn to go with our Swedish meatballs with extra bounce, because we're using an Asian beef ball recipe to make the meatballs before we then fry them up. Okay, so they will look like Swedish meatballs, but they're actually bouncy beef balls. How are you going there?
I'm good. I just need one more ingredient.
Okay, there you go.
There we go.
Okay, I'll let Paul take over.
Okay, back we go. Okay, so first things first, just because I don't want you guys to be here all day or all week. Actually, no, it doesn't take that long to boil a potato, but what I like to do is just cut them smaller so that it speeds up the process, and it doesn't really change the texture or flavor in any way. You know, it's like, I'm sure some people have thought, you know, if you cut it up and then boil it, does it absorb more water and make it a more watery mash? Discernibly, no. I don't think I've ever noticed that being the case. That being said, you can sort of do things differently depending on how you feel. That you could roast your potatoes rather than boiling them. You could grill them. you could. I'm trying to think what else.
Just to soften it.
Yeah, to basically, like, the thing is, to mash them, what you need is you just need a potato that's cooked through.
Okay.
And so
could you microwave it?
You can microwave it. Yeah, there's actually a lot of people who do.
Okay.
I don't personally prefer it because I find that something it does to the texture, and also depending on the size of your potatoes.
Okay, this is how ignorant I am about mashed potato. I don't even know the different types of potato. Is there a particular type you go for?
There are different types of potatoes, but in this day and age, basically what most supermarkets and countries have done is supermarket washed, if that's the right word.
Okay. I noticed you don't peel the potato. Neither do I. But
honestly, it's personal preference. But like, and maybe it's just my dad always being like, oh, all the nutrients are in the skin or something.
That's what I say too.
So how true that is or not, I don't know. But the one thing I do know is that texture-wise, obviously without the skin, you'll have a smoother mashed potato. So if you want like something from Ikea, leave the skin off. But if you aren't really that fussed, and if you're going to chuck it in a Thermomix at a really high speed, you're not really going to notice a difference. Okay. So try it out either way. If you really you don't know much about potatoes, try it either way and see what you like. It really comes down to what every person sort of enjoys their preference. But for me, it's like, I don't feel like the extra effort of having to peel all these potatoes just to have a slight bit of a textural benefit. So yeah.
What about the different varieties of potatoes?
Yeah, sorry. As I was saying, is basically, so what happened is supermarkets have supermarket washed the potatoes.
Did you want to get started with the beef in the meantime?
No, I want to actually put the potatoes in. Just give me 1 second and I'll tell you about the...
Okay. I'm going to actually transfer some of this beef mince into a bowl, because actually I'm going to transfer it straight into a Thermomix bowl, because what we're going to do is we're going to make a Malaysian or Asian beef balls, right? And if you're Asian like me, you'll know what I mean. No, you know what I mean. So this is a $13 box of 1 kilo beef mince. I usually, when I buy beef mince at a supermarket, I look for and this is my ongoing theme, right? What Westerners perceive to be low quality can actually be the reverse in Asian cooking. So I buy the lower quality mince, which means they're fattier, which is what you need. Actually, if you use something too lean, it's going to taste a little bit coarse in your mouth, right? So you get a best of both worlds, right? You get like what we consider in Asian cooking to be good quality at a low quality price. Okay, so this has actually been in the freezer for an hour. Okay, it's kind of firm, it's cold, but it's not frozen solid. Okay, and I'm going to chuck this into the Thermomix bowl, and I'm going to add other ingredients to it. If you, like I said, if you go to jackiem.com.au, you're going to find the recipe just by doing a search at the top of in the search bar for beef balls, right? Beef meatballs. And a lot of the things that I show you guys are stuff that I actually cooked and sold as part of my business. This is not one of them, okay? This is one that I just actually stuffed around with to figure out, okay? So we've got, say, approximately 500 grams of beef mince here, kept in the freezer for 1 hour before use. We're gonna add a little bit of fish sauce. And if you're Cantonese, you're like, what on earth is fish sauce doing in it? Yeah, again, it's my hack, right? Everything I do is very kind of like a combination of stuff that I've picked up.
Heads up, the potatoes, what I've done for those of you using a Thermomix is fill the jug up to close to max with water, and I chuck the potatoes into the simmer basket and doing it that way. So I'm going to cook it for 20 minutes at like 110. Beyond boiling, just because I want the heat to get as close to boiling as possible, and the speed, just a low spin, so like maybe 1.5, because I find that like is easier or better. You could also do, if you need to use more potatoes, is put in the blade cover peeler. But yeah, I'm just going this way because we don't really need that much today, and off to the races.
Okay, so in the meantime, I'm adding all the ingredients. Again, you can reference the recipe on my website, jackiem.com.au. Do a search for beef balls or beef meatballs. A bit of water. And the ingredients I've got in there so far, a little bit of fish sauce, some chicken powder, bit of sugar, bit of pepper, some tapioca starch, baking powder, and a little bit of oil. Just let me go and get that,
This thing's so silent, I can't even tell it's
Yeah. So a bit of oil, and we're going to now blitz it on high speed in the Thermomix. Now, when I made this last week, I didn't pre-freeze the minced beef, right? And because I didn't pre-freeze it, every time you blitz any kind of meat or whatever in the Thermomix or in any blender, you run the risk of having the blades, at a high velocity, end up pseudo cooking the meat that you're blitzing, okay? So to avoid that happening, because the meat was already not ice cold, I basically blitzed it at a lower speed and for a shorter period of time. But my recipe that I posted, I think it was 6-8 years ago that I blogged about this, which shows how long ago I actually had a go at it, and it's not something I make every day. I might have made it twice, over the course of that period. Essentially, to me now, looking at the recipe from years ago, it feels as though that particular high speed, I think speed 9 for 30 seconds, feels really high to me, okay? But anyway, we're going to blitz it now. I might cut down on the time or on the speed anyway, but last week when I severely cut down the time and speed of blitzing, I found that it wasn't as bouncy as how I remember it when I did make it properly the previous time, okay? But that actually served a purpose, because when we turned it into Swedish meatballs, to me, beef balls are too firm and rubbery, would not work. Paul seemed to think it worked. So we'll see how we go anyway, but it's all like hacking things and having a go at it, okay? Let's do this, okay. Okay, that was only 10 seconds of the 30 seconds at speed 9. We're going to show you how it looks. If I eyeball it and think that that's enough, okay, maybe it's not, but let's just scrape it around a little bit, okay? You see how firm it is, okay? But you see that it's not completely blended yet, okay? So we're going to blitz it a little bit longer, but maybe not quite, all 30 seconds, okay?
It gets more pink the longer until you blend it right. I think because the fat and the meat are blending into each other.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I think I'm gonna just get the corn shucked.
Okay, I'm gonna stop at 15 seconds total, okay? Because I don't want it to, like I said, start.
Go too far here.
Yeah. And then start heating up and start pseudo cooking. So this is what it looks like after 15 minutes in the Thermomix at speed 9. Okay. And to me, that's probably decent enough. Obviously, if you're making Western meatballs, you don't do this at all. You're basically just adding whatever, rolling it rolling this with all the seasoning, whatever seasoning they use, I don't know, probably breadcrumbs and whatnot,
I was
right?
say, there's a bunch of different ways, but yeah, there's breadcrumbs, and then there's all kinds of flavoring like oregano, and some people put milk or some sort of liquidy type of thing, which loses that sort of density.
Now, my recipe says after you blitz it, to put it on the kneading function, okay? Since the Thermomix can knead, I'm going to knead it in the Thermomix for, 30 seconds, a minute, okay? And what are you doing now?
Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is just shucking the corn, and so I was actually talking to Jackie about it before we went on, but basically there's like, you could do it multiple ways. Is you could actually grill the corn in the husk if you wanted, which obviously wouldn't like get those grill marks and stuff on the corn. But it's a good way because it sort of insulates it, so it slightly steams it as it cooks.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad way. It also, you know, does produce some of that smoky flavor. But yeah, I think if I can remember correctly from Pancor, is they were just doing the corn straight on the grill. So
I don't know if you actually need to pre-boil it.
no.
No? Okay.
Well, we don't in South Africa.
Okay,
So,
in Malaysia, you know, if you grew up eating corn like I did, right, you would boil it in salted water and then you sprinkle some salt on it and eat it.
we
like that.
put butter on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the whole butter thing is a little bit new, and they do use butter in Pancor as
Yeah,
well.
they
So it
do.
makes it taste really nice,
Yeah,
right? But
butter
we didn't used to
and-
do that growing up.
Okay. Butter, and I'm trying to think what else they put on it. Did they put anything else on top of it?
Something, yeah.
Yeah,
but
there
we're
was
going
something
to
in
use
it, but-
that- Yeah, we're going to use this Hilmi's barbecue sauce. This is from Malaysia, by the way. It's meant
Yeah.
for meat, obviously, but I'm sure it'll taste delicious nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in Malaysia, if you come across Hilmi's, the products are really good. These were gifted to me by Hilmi, the company themselves, many years ago. So this is after a minute of kneading it in the Thermomix, okay? So this is actually ready to go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to actually boil these. We're going to turn these into beef balls and we're going to boil them. Okay, let me just clean this. Is this on? Can you turn it on?
it's an on the wall.
Yeah. Okay. So what you want is just a pot of water and you're going to heat it up and we're going to make these into beef balls and cook them in here. And in the meantime, like I said, lingonberry sauce is it's nice, but it's like adding strawberry jam to your savory food, you know.
It's like adding red sugar jelly.
Yeah.
Let's
You
be
know,
honest here.
Yeah. So again, if you missed it previously, the ingredients that went into these beef balls, this beef ball mixture, were like fish sauce, chicken powder, a little bit of sugar, some tapioca starch, a little bit of water, and some pepper. I think that's it. Okay, but you can grab the recipe from my website. So jackiem.com.au. Just do a search for beef balls, okay, meatballs or whatever.
How to make
How to make beef.
meatballs, I think is what it's
How
called.
to make beef meatballs. And the reason why I said beef meatballs is because of this trauma from when I used to work at when I first came to Australia and was working at a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown for as a yum cha trolley pusher. What happened was being a new immigrant in Australia, I used to get, it's a cultural thing and whatnot. But when we had Western guests at our restaurant, they'll ask the darndest questions sort of thing. So one time there was this table of Australians with a young boy at the table, and I was serving fish balls, right? We Asians all know what fish balls are. And, and they asked me what it was, and I said fish balls, and the kid looked at his dad and said, "Wow, Dad, I didn't know fish has such big ... And the whole table just thought it was hilarious, and I, as an Asian, very proper sort of thing, I thought that was really obnoxious. So since then, I've tried to avoid calling something that might have a double entendre or something like that, right? That's why I call it meatballs, but beef. Anyway, so we're going to wait for this water to boil. Paul's got the potatoes going over there. If you've got a Thermomix, you can do this in the Thermomix, which is to blitz this with all the seasoning and then knead it. But if you don't have a Thermomix, you can do it in a regular blender and then transfer it into a dough mixer and knead it. Otherwise, if you don't have a dough mixer for the kneading part, you can transfer this into a stainless steel bowl and then slap it. You grab chunks of it with your hand and then slap it against the sides of the bowl. And what it does, and you do that for all kinds of spoons would be okay. Yeah, you do that with all kinds of fish paste or whatever else, because the whole idea with Asian fish balls and meatballs and whatever is the idea of bounciness, okay, which is kind of a little bit lost on Westerners, I think, to some extent, because that is not a concept, right? We want something that in Cantonese we say 好想去, you know what I mean? 我想, what is it? In Hakka, it's 好想好, I think. Oh, I can't even speak my own language anymore. 想hiểu, I think it is. You want it to taste really bouncy in your, between your teeth, right? Not just kind of like sink through the way Western meatballs are. And you do that by expelling the air bubbles trapped within the mixture, okay? And you expel the air bubbles by kind of like slapping it, sort of thing, so that it kind of like forcing the air bubbles out. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, let's just switch the camera back to the front here. And how are you going?
I'm just waiting.
Okay.
But now I'm good.
Okay, so you've got the
potatoes.
And what are you doing with this?
Gonna grill them, but it's quick, so I'll just wait till you're.
You can get it started if you like. Just
okay.
Yeah.
Just
sort of thing. So in the background, we've got our deep fryer going, and cooking these beef balls should not take long. Okay, let me actually transfer this into a bowl so you can see. Actually, yeah, no. Actually, save on washing up. We're gonna skip the transferring. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to use your hand to kind of like squeeze out lumps of beef balls, or you can use a spoon and kind of like shape it into rustic ball-shaped thingamajiggers. Okay. So I'm gonna put on a pair of gloves and do it that way. Okay. Here we go. And by the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jackie M. I used to own a Malaysian restaurant here in Sydney, Australia, until Noah came along, and I had to. Noah's my disabled child. He's actually, it's school holidays at the moment, so he's happy being entertained by Upin and Ipin, a Malaysian, popular Malaysian cartoon. But okay, so let's go back here. If you've got any questions, hit us up, let us know. If you've just joined us now, don't forget, like I said, this particular Sunday, I'm going to be in Concord at a community center. Hit me up for details, all right? You can message me, you can tag me in the comments and ask me for details and say you'd like to come and taste some of my curries. I'm going to be making a vegetable curry using my meat curry paste. Okay, let me just show you quickly. Can you grab me some of my curry paste?
Yes, sure thing.
And what we're going to do is I'm going to make beef rendang, and I'm going to make a mixed vegetable curry. And I'm going to be doing those using my curry paste from my curry paste range, which you can check out at shop.jackiem.com.au. And I'm going to feed you for free there, okay? Just to kind of like celebrate the Moon Festival that's being run by the Sydney Hills Makan Group, Aaron Gunn, and also some of our fellow collaborators there, okay? So come in and say hello. There is a limit to how many people can attend the event. I think the registration is closed, but if you tell them that you know Jackie M, I might be able to squeeze you in. Okay, so this is my meat curry paste. I just realized that it's not as, you know what, I'm going to use this to cook. Okay, so this is my meat curry paste. You see, it's got like some 20 different types of ingredients in each pack. And this is my rendang paste. And you're going to be tasting these, and I know this is called meat curry paste, but you can actually use it for non-meat dishes as well. I'm going to show you by using this on vegetable curry this weekend, okay? So apart from these, there's also other types. And also I'm experimenting with satay marinade. I did this once a long time ago, and then kind of put it on the back burner, but I'm going to try it again, okay? So the catch with these is they are recipes based on my restaurant menu from back in the day, but redeveloped by yours truly so that they only use dry ingredients, which means that you can take this and pack this on your camping trip without having to worry about keeping it cold or whatever. Keep it in your pantry, you don't have to keep it in the fridge, and then you whack it out. And also the great thing is it's not like 5 different steps to use this. You chuck this in, or 50 different ingredients you're going to add. It's quite funny because we actually were using a different product, right, by somebody else who produces spice mixes for biryani. flavors were delicious, but there were like 10 different steps that you had to get through, and also a bunch of different ingredients you had to add to the spice mix to make it work in a biryani dish, right? But everything is in here except for coconut milk and oil, okay? So you add a bit of water, coconut milk, oil, and then you just chuck your protein of choice, and you cook it, and when the protein's done, it's ready, okay? So you don't have to add seasoning, you don't have to add like onion and whatever, it's all already in there, okay? Of course, if you've got some fresh herbs, it's even got dried herbs in there, but of course if you've got fresh, that's always best. So if you've got some kaffir lime sitting in your garden, feel free to kind of like chuck a handful in it as well, but you don't need it, okay? That's why I designed this, is to make life easy for you in the kitchen. And okay, so this is about to come to a boil. This is the minced meat, and we're going to change the screen layout again. Here we go. And it's boiling vigorously. I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. Paul's just getting some stuff ready. Okay, here we go. So this is what you would do, right? Grab it between your hands, and then you want to kind of like just squeeze this out, okay? Squeeze it out, and then you want to pop it in here. And you want to boil it till it pops up to the surface, and you're going to leave it cooking for another 3 minutes after that. Okay, so easy peasy. So that's how they would do any kind of meatballs in Malaysia. You squeeze it between your thumb and your forefinger. Here you go. See, it's popping up, and of course, once it's cooked, it's ready to go. But since we're turning it into Swedish meatballs, we're going to actually then double cook it. We're going to fry it up after that, okay? Yeah, so if you're craving meatballs at home, right? You see how easy it is to make them. And this is like $6.50 worth of meat here, and you will be able to make several serves of a meal from here. And of course, these meatballs, once you make them, you can actually freeze them as well, okay? So they are great for food prep, okay? Oops. And if you buy them from the shops, you can actually buy them from some butchers, right? Some Asian butchers make these, okay? But you'll find a lot of the time, if you're like me and fussy about what goes into your food, you'll find a lot of the time that they actually got a hidden pork in them, okay? I know that sounds like an anti-pork evangelist, but I'm just very paranoid about pork.
Paranoid about pork, new blog.
But yeah, Asian butchers love their pork, okay? So even if they're making beef balls, they might chop pork fat in them, okay, to make them more bouncy, okay? It's their cheap way of making stuff bouncy, okay?
And when they want to give you free stuff, they're like, oh, you bought so much,
yeah.
Have some free pork.
Yeah, there's an Asian butcher in Cabramatta. Every time I buy, buy a lot of stuff in bulk, they offer, hey, great, thank you so much. Here's a kilo of free pork chops for you. I'm like, nah, sorry, I don't need pork. And then Paul will be like, oh, but I do. But no, I've never taken them out on the offer. Okay, so you see how these are quite large actually. The ones I made previously were smaller. I just want to make sure everything is going okay. If you got any comments at all, let me know. And if there's any particular recipe or technique you'd like us to cover in future, let me know. And by the way, guys, I actually ran a workshop on popiah last weekend. Do you know what popiah is? If you do, okay, let me just pause this because the water is overflowing. Popiah is a Malaysian fresh spring roll, right? That if you eat it outside of Malaysia, you're almost invariably bound to be disappointed. I actually know how to make proper popiah because I know how to make the skin. Whereas in Malaysia, even Malaysian expert cooks don't know how to make it because it's a very niche technique So even in Malaysian cookbooks or Malaysian food blogs or whatever, if you look for popia, how to make popia, they'll tell you how to make the filling, but then they'll tell you for the skin, go and buy it from your local popia store. Okay, so it's a little bit cheeky, but obviously here overseas there are no popia stores, and there's nobody to make it for you or to sell it to you, so you got to make it yourself. Okay, and I actually ran a masterclass on the weekend on Zoom to teach people how to make it, and we had a good time, I think. And some of them are actually going to be joining me here in my studio in Kogarah at a later date to put what they learn into practice, okay, with my guidance. So this is going to be really exciting. Now, if you're a serious Malaysian cook and you want to master Malaysian cooking, get in touch with me, or you can pop yourself on my wait list at Malaysian Hawker Pro, MalaysianHawkerPro.com, and you'll be added to my email list, and I'll keep you updated on when we next run either a standalone workshop like that, or my full program where I basically teach you everything I know from my restaurant menu. Okay, so you're learning how to make. You're not just cooking for, I mean, obviously it should be fun. It should
be fun, but
yeah, you're not just cooking as a hobby. You're going to be able to, through my guidance, cook it at a level where you can actually make money from it, okay, by selling the food, okay?
Okay, so you can't really see at the moment because the beef balls are there, but I'm putting the corn onto the
grill.
The grill.
And I'll let you move it here.
And yeah, once we have space, I'll put it on. Basically, just because we're doing it inside, and so you guys can see, I've put it onto a cast iron grill rather than taking it outside and doing it on a proper grill, you know, with gas or charcoal or something like that. And all you're doing is you literally just put it down on the grill for 5 minutes aside, give or take.
So it doesn't need to be covered?
No, I mean you can do it, it'll speed it up a bit, but like that is perfectly fine.
Okay, so let's see how many bowls we've got floating here. Let me just get a sieve. If Paul, would you mind getting me a sieve?
Sure.
And we're going to move. Whoa, whoops. The cast iron thing has just rolled over on its side because...
Okay. Just let me get some gloves, I'll sort it out.
So, there you go. Okay, so this is a little camping stove.
Just lift
and
it up
this is
again.
the...
I was using that as a support.
Okay, here we go. So that's just support. And here are the corns. It's a little bit skewered, but here you go. Oh, just a little, this one.
Oh, the handset.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so you see them? They've gotten really big actually. And part of it is because of the baking powder that went into it, okay? So they're more or less done. And we're going to take them off. And like I said, because Paul wants to turn these into Swedish meatballs, we're gonna strain these and then we're gonna deep fry some of them, okay? And the rest we're gonna keep in the fridge for other things. Okay, I'm gonna get these out of the way. And Paul's gonna come back with the potatoes and take it over. Has anyone seen God of Cookery?
Yes.
You watch God of Cookery, you'll know what we mean about bouncy beef balls, okay? So a Stephen Chow movie. This household is very 80s and 90s Hong Kong centric in our content consumption. So let me move this out of the way. Okay, here we go. So here you go, that's what they look, right? And you feel that they're very bouncy. Okay, cool. And like I said, we're just straining a little. And out of half a kilo of mincemeat, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, about 21, 22 beef bowls, okay? Which is a lot because they are giant ones. I would have, there would have been more had I made smaller ones. But I'm gonna go away and wash this up and bring Paul back on screen.
Okay, I'm just emptying the Thermomix and I'll be there.
I'm just washing the Thermomix bowl because it's had like raw mince in it. I'm gonna wash it on the dough setting so it doesn't heat up too much and end up cooking the mince thing into the Thermomix bowl. Okay. Okay. Let me bring Paul back over here. Do you have something to?
Yeah, let me get some tongs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we did not think.
Yeah. So $1 corn. Don't they look fabulous? Eh? I love corn, but they're sometimes quite expensive. Okay.
I'm gonna actually just move this so it's even better set up for us. Ooh.
Okay.
That should be stable enough.
Cool.
Yeah, basically just side by side, or you know, area by area until they're sorted.
You don't need this last one.
It wasn't space for it.
Okay.
So speaking of, I'm just gonna get better coverage.
Later.
Yeah, I'll do it a different way.
So how are you making the
Okay.
Mashed potato?
Yeah, here we go. So basically, yeah, we're still on overhead view. Oops, I'll put that on there. Yeah, close one. So basically, yeah, you guys can see that. It's really simple. Where did I put the potatoes?
Back here.
Oh, yeah. Need potatoes for potato mash. So basically, what you want to do is have your potatoes that are boiled, and you can tell that they're boiled. Hold on, let me get a. I don't have a.
What do you need?
No, I was gonna say something pointy, but this will do the trick. Basically, you see the knife just runs easily through them. You don't want to overcook them either, because if you overcook the potatoes, that also makes it watery. So that's why I've experimented, in about 20 minutes is give or take about right. But yeah, you got to test it for yourself. Also, different types of potatoes are different, and I didn't get around to that yet, is explaining the different potatoes, but I'll explain it once we get all of this in. So my personal potato recipe is pretty simple. All you want to do is take your boiled potatoes, and depending on what method you have to blend them up or mix them up, you want to, you know, either you can use a Thermomix, you can do them by hand, which obviously is a bit more work, but you know, it gets the job done. You know, you get one of those potato mashers. I don't even know if we have one of those in this house, a potato masher. We don't, do we? Yeah, obviously in South Africa we got like two, but Thermomix, blender, like a hand blender, you know, anything like that. You also want to be careful not to blend them up too much. You want them to be, depending on the texture that you like. I know some people actually like them chunky, like my dad likes them chunky sometimes. You know, don't blend them too much, just blend them until they become the consistency you're looking for. And my ingredients that go into it are pretty simple. So there's butter, which is always an important one. I put about a tablespoon. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to put the rest of this.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because usually I use quite a lot more, but yeah. Pepper, you can use black pepper if you don't mind the look, white pepper if you're trying to go for that like creamy consistency. I'm using Sarawak pepper, as I've been doing for the last couple weeks. You want to put like maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, you know, just depends on how peppery you like your things. What I'm doing is I'm also gonna add a little bit more salt. That way. I'm personally using Himalayan salt, which you can't really see in here, but basically what I've done is I've actually taken Himalayan salt, which is a little coarser, and blended it up together with MSG and something else. I can't remember because I did this a while ago. And it basically just to give it a more rounded, sort of salty taste. And with that, you don't want too much. You just want also like a quarter of a teaspoon. Depends on like how salty at the end of the day you like your stuff. All comes down to preference. So, you know, don't quote a recipe on the seasoning. You know, go by feeling. For me, there's more, but I think. I like to add some chili flakes. You can also add like chili powder if you want, but don't add too much because you don't want it to change the color or, you know, alter the texture too much. And then one of the things that I've lately been using, I used to use cream, but I've been using evaporated milk. Where's this camera? There we go. Evaporated milk, because I find that it actually lends to the creaminess without A, being as expensive, and B, it almost brings out a slight sweetness. So you want about 2 tablespoons. You go by feeling, like as you go. Personally, what I actually, and I'm not doing it now, is I blended up the potato by itself alone, check the texture, then blend everything into it. But because we're on the camera and we're short on time, I thought I'd just chuck it all together. So let's just chuck that in, and you'll have a look. So especially if you're doing it in like a Thermomix and a TM7, make sure that you do it like step by step, because you don't want to be in a situation where you've over blended it. So just make sure to always keep looking at it. And actually, I think the heat of this corn. Okay, I've turned it up just so it gets a bit more of that char. You see it starting to happen, but you want to let it like really go. Okay, so this was speed 6 and then speed 8. At 5 seconds on speed 6, 5 seconds on speed 8. Obviously play it by ear. I felt that the potatoes in the TM6 actually didn't cook as fully as the ones in the TM7, but yeah, just for your viewers' sake, you know, I want to make sure you guys can see everything. So here's your mashed potatoes. Obviously different people like different consistencies, but for me, we're trying to sort of go for that Ikea level of consistency. And basically what that means is if you scoop it up with like an ice cream scoop, it doesn't fall off. Yeah, maybe actually let me change the camera angle, because we're basically done, and I'm just going to plate everything for you guys. And that's the one, right? Yeah. And so, like, if you look here, that's a bit bright. Yeah, go for it. I'm going to check for the seasoning now.
Okay.
How is it? Does it need
Nice and
anything?
creamy. It needs the seasoning, obviously.
Okay.
So.
Actually, can you stand on screen just so there's something dark behind it? Look at the consistency. You see how? Yeah. It's firmer, because I actually made the mistake last time we did it. I ran it a bit long, but yeah, no, there we go. Let me just turn the corn again. So
chuck the beef balls in the fryer?
Yeah, have you done it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. I'll go do that, or do you want to do it?
I can do it.
Okay, I'm gonna plate up everything else.
So these are the beef balls. We're gonna chuck them in the deep fryer straight, right?
Yeah, that's what I did last time.
Okay, let's do this.
And oh yes, let me get the seasoning ready for the corn. Do we have any more butter? Only in the fridge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so as we said, we're going to use this Hilmi's together with some butter.
So these are the beef balls. This is half the batch, the other half's frying. But these we can just chuck in the fridge or freezer and use up next time you want some soupy noodles. Okay, so they're very bouncy. Let me just change the camera angle again. Okay, so you see them here. So if you like Asian beef balls, you can make them yourself at home, right? And but like I said, I do try and add unconventional ingredients in them, like chicken powder, like fish sauce, and that sort of stuff, which you may not necessarily find in a full-on traditional beef ball recipe. But see how easy it was to make, right? Anyway, yeah.
So, I mean, there's two ways you can go about seasoning your corn. Where you can take your seasoning and mix it into your butter and refrigerate it and then use it again. But what we're going to do is basically just rub the butter on and then rub it through some of the seasoning to try and get as much of it on as possible. We've still got a few minutes on the corn, and then we should basically be good to go. Yeah, the easiest way to basically cook the corn is just keep turning it until every side has got grill marks. That way you know you've done every part. I'm actually just going to turn it up to speed up the process. But in the meantime, let me get a plate and I can plate the start. And thanks. Yeah, I didn't realize the water went over.
Hit us up if you've got any questions, and don't forget, if you haven't already signed up to my email list, you can do that at jackiem.com.au/email, but there is a caveat, okay? The caveat being that you have to confirm that you want to sign up. So you need to look out for an email in your inbox after you sign up asking you to confirm that you want to sign up, okay? Otherwise, you know what my email system does? If within 12 hours you don't confirm it, it deletes your email, okay? So don't think just because you've signed up, you're good to go. No, you will not be added to my email list. And what's the purpose of being added to my email list? You get all my recipes, right, sent out. Well, the ones that I send out anyway, like some of it's proprietary, which I only give to my students. But and also you get notified about all special events, like that upcoming one that I've got on this Sunday. And you get special deals on everything that I do, okay? Including like early bird specials, and also like kind of like loyalty specials and stuff like that. So if you're in the whole Malaysian food space, you love Malaysian food and all that, you should sign up to my email list, jackiem.com.au/email, okay? And also for those of you who are already on my email list, you will have received a copy of my latest Masters of Malaysian Cuisine e-magazine containing 8 recipes from Pahang, the state of Pahang, Malaysia's hidden culinary destination.
And most importantly, durian destination.
Most importantly, durian destination, okay? If you're a durian lover, let us know. I find that cooking it like this seems to take a while. I was asking him whether we should actually boil it first, like, you know, and then just finish it off on the grill.
No, because the problem is if you boil it and then cook it like this, what you're going to do is lose a bit of the moisture.
This is very bouncy, by the way.
Actually, let me try one. I think. Oh, speaking of the ones in the thing, are probably ready. Yeah, that's bouncier than you get in the store. Maybe not bouncier than the ones from Gotta Cookery, but then they did have the. How do I say it not rudely? The. Yeah. Okay, I think we're coming up to. Oh, actually, let me change it over here. Okay, we're coming up to this basically being ready. So I'm starting to just rub some of the butter on, just to give it that extra sort of like flavor as it goes. The biggest problem actually with our setup for cooking this corn is it's not really big enough or wide enough. So I'm worried that the outside corn, which I can basically see, hasn't really cooked through. So once we're done on air, I'll just actually finish it off. But we'll taste the inner parts and let you guys know how it's come out.
So these are the deep fried ones, okay?
They look almost like Ikea. Obviously just with
But
that
smoother.
bouncier, smoother texture.
So deep fried beef balls, non-deep fried beef balls, okay? And keep an eye out for the recipe that I'll post on my website, and also that I'll send out to all of you guys.
I was gonna say, and where's your bounciest pissing shrimp beef balls? Okay, and so over here I've put some of the spice down. You can do it however you feel. You can just sprinkle it on, but I'm more of the type to roll spices on. So let's get it in there, shake it around, do what it takes. I'm actually trying to think. I've been doing something lately cooking wise that I've needed to get covered in flavoring of some sort. Man, I can't remember. But yeah, so for me it's always important that if you're going to do something like this is try and get as coated as much as possible. And so yeah, and now that the food's close to ready, guess who comes out of the the cave, the I was gonna say the man cave, the boy cave. Okay, so that one got a real solid char there. Probably needs a little more of the seasoning. Let me put the camera back so you guys have already seen that. Yep, there we go. There he is, the little hungry monster himself. Okay, and I don't know if this angle helps in any way, but we're basically good to go. Yep, that looks like every area, at least in the middle. Like I'm not a perfectionist generally, and right now not so much because the ends are not that fully cooked. But yeah, you can feel the center is basically corn is like every other vegetable that's juicy that I know of. That if you push it, you can feel when it's cooked because it's got like almost feels like the solid, like the water is. Oh man, I'm trying to think how to explain it, but basically the water's like filled up and made it this like expanded thing. Whereas if you feel like the outside, you can feel it's still like hard. So like it feels soft inside, but still like the water is expanded in the little kernel.
You know what the Malaysians put on them? evaporated milk or something. Remember?
Really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
thought it was, because I was thinking it was some liquidy thing.
Yeah, evaporated milk. So you can try that as well, right?
Yeah, it's next on our agenda.
Cool.
And
How did your mashed potato go?
no, good. Let me dish up.
Yeah, we're gonna dish up and show you guys what this looks like. We're gonna skip the gravy, right?
Yeah,
We would have made the gravy.
Which we did last time.
We did last time because we had beef stock. Remember how I told you guys from a couple of broadcasts ago that we bought some really cheap beef bones from Australian Meat Emporium, and we had lots of beef stock, but the beef bones are in the freezer downstairs, and we can't be asked to go and fetch it. So I don't know. We might make some stock off camera afterwards to make gravy with, but in the meantime, we might be okay with that. You should serve it on a plate. Plate.
Sure. Oops. Y'all didn't see nothing. Yeah, we could have probably made it a bit firmer to like nail that Ikea type of a look. But yeah, I know some people actually even believe in using thickeners, but where you can help it, try to avoid thickeners. When I try to style this in some way possible, but you know, it's not rice. You can't just chuck it in a thing and turn it over.
It's alright.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, there we go.
Chuck some of these. Yeah. These, by the way, have gotten a little bit
Too much.
porous from being deep fried. That's because of the baking powder, making it expand and then shrink. Okay.
So
There you go. Oh, fried onion. Let me get some fried onion.
yeah.
The one thing that I never expected that we would have in common with the Swedes is their love of fried onion. Okay, so in Ikea you can actually buy like commercial fried onion, but I actually prefer to make my own. So I'm gonna put some fried onion on here.
And that
there you go.
is it.
That's our lunch. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So keep your eyes out for the recipe. If you don't want to miss anything from me, make sure you sign up at jackiem.com.au/email, and don't forget to look for the opt-in confirmation email. Otherwise, within 12 hours of you not confirming, you will have to start all over, okay? Or you'll just miss out because the system automatically kicks you out, okay?
Also, the other thing is we didn't have peas because we don't really eat peas. And what we actually did last time was we cooked up some choy sum and we've just fried it in oyster sauce.
Yeah.
But this is good enough. The corn
is our choy sum today, okay? So there you go. I'm going to take some photos and show you guys. And yeah, this plate is still like, because it's curved, it's a bit hard to fit the big giant corn in it. But yeah, keep your eyes out for the recipe for this, and it will get sent to your inbox when it's ready. Okay. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Hit us up if you've got any questions, and if you've got any suggestions as to what you'd like to see us do, which cover the theme of, first of all, budget cooking, and second of all, kind of like East meets West thing, right? I like I said, East meets West makes me feel really like dated.
It's like we're gonna watch The King and I after this.
South Africa meets Malaysia, but you know, but all the other countries in between and a little bit beyond as well. All right, thanks guys. Good to catch up with you all, and we'll see you next time.